no better time to sit back and let's talk movies, right? So we should talk movies with our partner, Collider. This is the Collider Movie Talk. I want to introduce the CEO of Collider, Mark Fernandez. Come on up. And this is just a good way to, chill out and I think, introduce the team.
Absolutely. So how's everybody doing? Good? All right, good. So I'm very lucky to present this next gentleman up here because I'm a huge fan, and it's so much fun when you get to work with people that you admire and that can entertain you for hours. And if you guys haven't checked out his stand-up, I highly recommend it. It's unforgettable. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark Ellis.
Thank you, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, one more hand for Mark Fernandez. I look like the guy that orders the hit. He's the guy that carries it out. Good to be here. My name is Mark Ellis, also known as the poor man's Jeremy Johns, and I am so thrilled to welcome you guys to the Collider Movie Talk panel. I was on this stage a couple hours ago. We talked about the future of Collider, a lot of exciting stuff going on there. But now this panel, this is for the Movie Talk fans. This is for people who tune in and do the same thing I do. When you get out of bed in the morning, literally and figuratively, I want to talk movies. I want to talk movies with you guys and with the special guests we have here at the panel today. I'm thrilled that we have so many different guests. There's only 2 seats for them up here, so we're gonna be running them up in pods because we have so many people that I wanna get their take on all the cool news stories we're gonna be talking about. And then at the end of the panel, we're definitely gonna save time for your live Q&A. So get ready, if you got a good question, get ready to fire it off. Ladies and gentlemen, you guys ready to kick off the Collider Movie Talk panel? There we go. It's that Vegas Saturday night energy. Kicking off in our first pod are 2 of my good friends, and you guys know them as the co-vice president of Collider and the founder of Collider.com. Please welcome Dennis Tzeng and Stephen Frosty Weintraub. Let them hear it. All right.
Oh, I have my phone for no reason.
The main reason why I wanted to do the director's chairs instead of the normal chairs is because Frosty hates them.
That is very true.
So Frosty, Dennis, how's the con going for you guys
Good.
so far?
It's great.
It was
It's
great
busy.
till you fucking until you installed these chairs.
We were literally 5 minutes in, we already have our first F-bomb.
Yeah, that will be the only one from me, sorry.
We'll try to save the rest for Schnepp when he gets here. Now, what I wanted to talk about first of all is that there's a lot of cool movie news stories to get to, but I think the thing that a lot of people are stopping me and asking me out in the convention hall is this whole Moviepass AMC Stubs thing, the membership, because you guys are like us. You want to go see as many movies as possible, so you're really just looking for the most economic way to do that. Dennis, Moviepass seems to be a thing of the past, and it seems like these more regional theater kind of chains or a national chain like AMC or Regal are going to be the way of the future. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think the thing is, Moviepass is great. The only problem with it is not financially stable. There's no way you can maintain what they're doing, which is, what was it, $9.99 a month, and you can see as many movies as possible. Now they're changing things up, like, hey, you can only see 3 movies a week, or like, for certain popular movies, you got to pay more. It's unsustainable. Where something like AMC just released their new A-list, and I'm sure Regal will do the same thing, where it's 3 movies a week. Where I think that's just a more reasonable thing. It's $19.99 a month, and because they are the theaters themselves, and they're making money off of you buying their soda and their popcorn and all that stuff, they can make it more financially stable. So I think that way it works.
I have a question. Is it 3 movies a week or 3 movies a month?
I think it's a week.
AMC is 3 movies a week. So AMC just released their version of Moviepass, and you can see 3 movies a week. But like Dennis said, you're going to go there. Every time I walk into a movie theater, I can have just eaten like a huge steak dinner, and I smell the popcorn, and I need to go get it. That's where theaters make their money, is popcorn costs so much, soda costs so much. So the way that they can get by with that is if they offer slightly discounted tickets because they know you're going to buy the food too.
100%. The other thing about the AMC Pass is that it allows you to go to IMAX, it allows you to go to 3D, and the most important thing, it allows you to pre-book your tickets. So you say you want to go with Moviepass, I think you have to go to the theater within a certain amount of time to use it. But with the AMC Pass, if you want to go on Friday night to go see, I don't know, the new X-Men movie, you'll be able to reserve your tickets with that pass. That's a huge difference, you know?
What did you guys make of the Moviepass? Had that they produced the movie, or they helped distribute the movie Gotti, and the movie Gotti came out to rave reviews by fans who worked for the movie Gotti. And there were a bunch of ads that Gotti ran saying critics don't know anything, and critics are just trolls behind keyboards, and that's why it's 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Was that dirty pool, in your opinion, to try to sell their movie like that?
Yeah, I think it's a cheap shot, and it's like, look, it's not like everyone thinks there's like these conspiracies with critics, and like you can't sway the critics one way or the other. They're gonna like the movie or they're not.
That's not true. I get a check from Disney every month.
Oh yeah, sure.
And Disney pays me to give positive reviews to Disney movies.
I was going to say, the best you could sway me is if, like, you gave me a couple beers before I see Justice League, I might walk out and be like, that was awesome. And then I'll think about it, and I'm like, it wasn't quite as awesome as I originally thought when I was under the influence of alcohol. But we're not going to change our opinion of a movie because the studio wants us to.
Absolutely.
No, yeah.
Something else that kind of has been going on recently, and I know you guys are probably thinking about this too, is what streaming services do I need to tune into? What do I need to get in the future? Because we have Netflix, we have Hulu, we have Amazon, and then in the very near future, we're going to have a streaming service from Disney and a lot of other individual brands like that. Are we going to be paying more for our content, or are we going to be paying less for our content with the advent of the streaming services continuing?
Well, I think it also comes down to whether or not you're into, like, listen, if you just care about movies and TV, you can pay less. But if you're interested in sports, if you're interested in a lot of the other, it's going to be interesting if Disney's streaming service includes ESPN, or if that's going to be a standalone, because there was a lot of talk that Disney was going to release 4 different streaming things, and then it was all, no, it's just one service. I think Disney's going to release a $10 to $15 service. I believe it's next year, and the question is, will ESPN be on it? Because if they acquire Fox, and they have Disney, and they have the kids stuff, it's going to be, I think that 2 or 3 streaming services are going to survive, Disney being one of them.
You're a guy that knows stuff. Is Disney going to acquire Fox?
Yeah.
It's not going to be Comcast?
I don't think so. I think Disney's in it. And also, it's because you got to think about how much IP Fox has, and it's all about the streaming service. They're not buying it for anything but the streaming service, because you look at Netflix, and the only way they're going to compete with that is the IP. And so I firmly believe that Disney will get Fox. And also, the Avatar sequels, all the stuff that Disney World, like, the Avatar Land, all of that stuff can be migrated into the theme parks.
But Dennis, I thought that Disney was going to buy Fox so we could get Wolverine into an Avengers movie.
Yeah, that's that's an extra benefit. But if you think that Disney is purely buying Fox so that they can put X-Men into the MCU, that's not true. They're buying it for the library of content that they already have, and like Steve said, the IP that they can create more content so they can put it on the streaming service. And I think the whole talk about the streaming service also is connected with what we were talking about earlier with Moviepass and the AMC A-list, because less and less people will be going to the theater. Disney knows this. And so what can they do? They can make all these big movies that people want to see in the theater, right? Like all the Star Wars, all the MCU movies, but they also need to make content that people will watch at home. That's all the younger generation. They're not going out to the theaters. They're staying at home watching Netflix, and Disney needs to be in that game.
Yeah, by show of hands, how many people are going to sign up for the Disney streaming service like as soon as it comes out? Because, I mean, you're going to get the Star Wars show. I think ESPN's going to have its own streaming service that's going to debut as well, and I don't know if that's going to get absorbed by Disney. But for a sports fan, that's my big thing with streaming services. I love all the content, but I need to watch sports live. I can't watch it 15 seconds delayed. I need to know it's happening right there.
Completely.
And it's different than any other kind of content. So once that gets figured out is when you get my dollar. But it does beg the question, how much money are we going to be spending in the future on this stuff? Is it going to be more than we're spending now?
If I was a betting man, I would say Disney's $14.99 when they start, $9.99 or $14.99 to get you in it. And then, they can expand the price. But if they end up acquiring Fox, all the Disney movies, all that content is a direct competitor to Netflix. They can take Netflix on and even possibly win.
Can't let you guys go without asking you the movie that you're most excited about the rest of the year.
The Gotti sequel.
That Gotti sequel is going to be hot, man.
Yeah.
I mean, is The Irishman even going to come out this year?
X-Men's next year.
No, Irishman.
Irishman, I don't know the release
The Irishman
date.
is 2019 as well.
I mean, they said that the movie's coming out for a long time now. I don't know. Mission Impossible Fallout looks good, and Aquaman.
Mission Impossible Fallout, Aquaman, good
I'm
choices.
going to say, since we're on the panel and no one's watching, I spoke to someone that saw the new Mission Impossible, and they freaked out, raved. And I spoke to someone that saw Aquaman, and I heard it's great. They're still figuring out how they're going to talk with the bubbles. You know, like the underwater talking thing?
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's still
Have you ever tried to talk underwater?
No, but
Very difficult.
But being completely serious, that's something that they're working on.
Well, they figured it out in Justice League, right? They had like the bubble
They're
thing.
not- I don't
and
think
then
they're doing
people
that.
rebelled. People hated the bubble. Like that was the biggest problem with Justice League. They're like, hey, the fact that Ben Affleck keeps putting on and losing 30 pounds throughout the movie, that's fine. We don't like the bubbles in Aquaman, and so now they got to refigure it out. What are they going to do?
I don't know, but that's what I heard. I heard the movie is fantastic. They're still figuring that one thing out. There's so many amazing films that are on the docket for later this year, but I think for me near the top is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It is everything I've learned about this movie, everyone I've spoken to about this movie has just completely raved about it. And I heard through the grapevine that you're actually going to want to see this movie in 3D. There's apparently a snowing sequence where the 3D in it looks insane. It's like a comic book come to life. Everything I've heard, everything has been this movie is going to be really special.
I love the trailer, and I cannot wait. I think that's going to bust the Marvel animated universe wide open, and I hope they take a cue from that. So I think that's going to do well in the theaters as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a huge hand to Mr. Dennis Tzeng and Stephen Frosty Weintraub. Thank you guys for joining us here today. This is going to be something fun to do in between panelists, is because they just brought up Mission Impossible Fallout and Aquaman. So let's do a round of applause. You can only clap for one. You can't go see both. I'm putting all you guys in a movie theater right now. You're getting in my Ford Fusion. We're driving to the theater, and you can either go see Mission Impossible Fallout or Aquaman. You can only clap for one. So by round of applause, how many people would rather see Mission Impossible Fallout? Okay, it's dicey. How many people would rather see Aquaman? We are definitely at amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. Please keep that applause going for my next two panelists. You guys love them on Collider Heroes and all of their individual exploits. The very talented Markeia McCarty and Coy Jandreau, ladies and gentlemen. Been fun getting to hang out with the both of y'all in Vegas. We kind of missed each other. We were ships passing in the night at a Harrah's Casino because I woke up to text from both of them like, hey, we're at Harrah's, where are you?
4 a.m. is no time to be in public. I know Vegas encourages it, but man, my body does not. 4 a.m. at Harrah's.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, Vegas people can party. It looked like there were some people that were about to go out when we were going in.
Yeah, like a lot of other cities, when you're going to bed too late, people like running. Like they get up and you're like, oh no, it's too late. There's a guy jogging. Not in Vegas. You can count on more debauchery than you. This town is nothing without this. I love it.
I mean, some of y'all know this. By round of applause, how many people are locally from Las Vegas? Okay. How many people are from out of town? Okay, good. Got
It's like a Mission Impossible level clap, that second one. That was,
Well, see, the crazy people in Vegas are the tourists. Like, the people I've met that are from Las Vegas, they're just the most normal, grounded, no gambling addiction. They're just walking around like real people. It's the tourists from Fort Lauderdale and from Cincinnati and from Burbank, California that come here and just wreck shop. So it's really our fault, and we apologize to everybody who actually lives in this beautiful city. There's a lot I want to get to with both of y'all, but I know that you guys love talking about comic book stuff. I know that we're very excited. We just got a huge round of applause because so many people are excited to check out Aquaman. And so I have a bold proclamation to make, then I want to get y'all's take on it. And I said this on Movie Talk. I think that within 5 years, the DCEU is setting itself up to possibly overtake the MCU as the best cinematic universe, as the most popular one, as the one that's cranking out the best movies. I believe in the groundwork they're laying right now. I think they have to stick the landing with the Batman and Superman Returns whenever they do. But I think that Aquaman could be great. Shazam could be a lot of fun. Wonder Woman 2. I think that we have a real legit shot, 5 years, to completely turn the tide. Markeia, how do you feel about that statement?
I love that I'm going first. 5 years, 5 years. For a bold proclamation like that, I would want to give them at least the same amount of time that the MCU has had. So I'm going to round it out to a 10.
Okay.
I'm going to do 10 years for it. They would have to really refocus some things. Something that I brought up on an earlier panel is I don't like how they didn't do a follow through with Wonder Woman. Like you have this incredible project. It struck a chord with so many people, and then they just kind of set back on it until we have Wonder Woman 1984, when we should have like a Wonder Woman game in process, like an Arkham Asylum style or something like that, like Batman, but it's Wonder Woman. We should have that. There should be an animated series. It's like, I wanted them to just push Wonder Woman on me, and I'd be like, yes, with both hands, I accept her. So since they didn't do that, I don't see them taking over the MCU, especially because MCU's got Phase 4 going on now, and they're just going off in all different kinds. And then we're probably going to have Fantastic Four either in Phase 4 or maybe close to Phase 5. That, and Kevin Feige has a magical genie somewhere that he's making wishes on. So
yeah, I mean, he must be rubbing
can't...
lamps somewhere, because just the magic that they've been able to create with the MCU. But the other side of that coin, Coy, is that, you know, most of us saw Infinity War, and we know that some of our characters that we love from the MCU the last 8 years may not be around much longer, storyline-wise and just actor-wise. I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. wants to keep being Iron Man. Chris Evans wants to keep being Captain America. So you have to replace them with your bench players. They've done a really good job setting up Spider-Man, setting up Black Panther, setting up Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel coming out next year. Do you see any window for the DCEU as soon as Aquaman to start turning the tide and catching the MCU?
I think that DC has more iconic characters to build on right now. When Iron Man was coming out, no one knew who Iron Man was. You got like Stan Lee's pipe dream of like James Bond himself. Like, you know, Stan Lee wrote a character that wasn't that likable on purpose. So what I think is amazing is that they've turned characters that aren't that popular into worldwide phenomenons, right? So DC, by the nature of their material, should have that ability. They should be like, I have Batman and Superman. That's enough of a title, go. But so far, what they've built isn't as fleshed out as Marvel. So I think DC has the opportunity to learn from Marvel. I think they have the opportunity to grab what Marvel's done and build off that. So I think that the 5 to 6 year head start Marvel had can be a benefit for DC, because now that DC is ramping up, Marvel's ramping down what we know and ramping up new things. Right now, Marvel is winding down like these characters we've lived with, their Avengers, there's things we've had, and they're going crazy. Like, we're going to space. We're going to have Sheer. We're going to have Kree. We're going to have, like, Skrulls. And then when you get the X-Men, we know those characters, but we don't know them in the MCU context. So I think right now, DC, this is the time for DC to go, hey, remember how much you loved Wonder Woman? Hey, remember that you love Batman and Superman? How about... And then Jeff Johns can make a great Green Lantern. We can have our lethal weapon in space, which is everything I need. And if we get Riggs and Murtaugh in space, I don't care what else comes out.
It really is funny when you bring it up like that, because if you look at the MCU, our equilibrium is so off that now we think they're going crazy. Like talking raccoons in space, that was totally normal. We see that every day on the news. Now we're going crazy. And to Markeia's point earlier, I think that the DC branding overall has a good opportunity right now, not just with Wonder Woman, but with a lot of the ancillary things that they're launching that aren't strictly in the movie universe, whether it's animation or video games. They have platforms to do that. And some of the big news coming out of this Comic-Con was the DC All Access app.
They are killing it when it comes to animated and games. I mean, DC all day. DC all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Definitely with it. And yeah, I'm going to be a subscriber to DC Universe because that's my childhood. All of their animation is like my childhood.
If I give you guys the choice, you can subscribe to one of these streaming services coming out. Are you taking the DC app over even something like Disney?
I'll subscribe to the DC Universe. He'll subscribe to Disney, and then we'll just switch off passwords.
That doesn't happen. Everyone has Netflix individually, right? Everyone has their own password. No one shares.
I get a text from a person who shall remain nameless, but his name starts with a K and ends with a Rishjan Harloff, who will occasionally ask me for my ESPN Plus login. Because anytime he gets a break from the wife and kids, who he loves dearly, but sometimes you just want to sit around and watch his sports documentary. So I just get a text from him, what's your password again? And I'm like, just scroll through the text, dude.
I love that, like, people are like, I really want to watch Runaways, but I don't have Hulu, and it's like $9, but that's 1 pint in Los Angeles. That's like, I could have Guinness tonight or Hulu for a month. I'm gonna get Guinness. Like, all these things are almost reasonable, but when they all add up, we were talking before, we're almost back to cable. By the time, like, the 5 years is up, it's going to be a Marvel app, maybe a Disney app on top of the Marvel app, a DC app, Hulu, Netflix. It's going to be like, I have to cut the cord on cutting the cord again?
Yeah, so all of us just need to switch passwords with each other. We'll start like a Facebook group, and we'll do that.
They're filming this,
Yeah.
Markeia.
We'll circumvent the system.
We'll have a little fishbowl where you can drop your streaming service password in there, and then we can all exchange it. Because let's face it, we're all going to be friends. Like I told you guys, we're all going to the movie theater after this right now. Speaking of things, something that we thought was going to be in the movie theater as early as 2019, and news came out this week that it's delayed until at least 2020, if not beyond, is Indiana Jones 5. And Indiana Jones 5 is something that, I'll be totally honest with you guys, I love Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. I don't know that I am clamoring for another, like I don't wake up every morning like, where is it? But if you made it, I'm gonna wanna see it. Is this something that is going to just be delayed because we don't like the script? Or do you see Indiana Jones 5 not happening at all?
I see it in two ways. It could either go the way of Creed, which Hector Navarro, if you guys know Hector, we were talking about it, and he had the most optimistic approach. He was like, Creed, one of the best in the franchise, rejuvenated, brought life back to you, blah, blah, blah. Fix Indy 4, there's no blah, blah. And I was like, that's the most optimistic. Like, he's like Indy 5, like I am with Venom. He's just like, it can't go badly. I'm afraid it's going to be Zoolander 2. And I'm just going to be like, I was already hurt. Now you've broken my spirit. Like, Zoolander 2 was such a painful... I can't rewatch Zoolander 1. And I love Zoolander. And it hurts me to acknowledge it. We've already nuked the fridge. We've already had Mutt Shia LaBeouf. We've already had those things. I'm really afraid of Indy 5 with the delay. But I'd much rather Indy 5 exist to fix Indy 4 than not exist at all. But I'd rather not have anything again and have a 70-year-old Harrison Ford ruin a character that is so beloved. Like, I need that fedora to be, untarnished.
Well, just because, like, I built up such an emotional callus over the years that nothing that comes out can affect the movies that I love. Like, even if there's a horrible Star Wars movie that comes out, it's not going to change how I feel about the classic trilogy. Zoolander 2 is the exception, because I can't watch the first Zoolander
bad.
either.
What did they do?
I can't watch it anymore.
It's fun in its own way. It's good for drinking games.
Les Miserables is good for drinking games. Zoolander is good for weeping, not on purpose. Les Miserables is a drinking game? Fire. I'll tell you about it. It's amazing.
Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to tell me about that
If
one. I'm
anyone
like,
wants
wait,
to hang
what?
out with us, we'll be at Circus watching Les Mis at 4 in the morning having a
2,
drinking
4,
game.
6, so what?
Because that's what tourists do in Las Vegas. Markeia, Indy 5, is this something that you were excited about when you heard the news? The fact that it's delayed, does that give you fear we're never going to see Harrison Ford don the fedora again?
Well, I'm sort of in your camp with, okay, for instance, I love Alien, and I love everything that Alien does. I don't recognize Alien 4 as an Alien movie. It does not diminish my love for Alien through Alien 3. And
You like
so
Alien 3? You're on
I
record.
don't think Alien 3 is an Alien movie either. It has Alien elements. I know it's an Alien movie, but it has Alien elements. This is a whole other conversation. Let me go to your question. So with Indiana Jones 5, at this point, okay, I didn't consider Crystal Skull, Kingdom of the...
Crystal Skull counts.
Crystal Skull.
You can say fridge nuke. You can
Oh
say
my
Area 51.
God.
Schmodown rules.
I forgot about that refrigerator, that flying refrigerator.
But that's why
Yeah.
Indy 5 excited me when I heard the news, is because Steven Spielberg could be looking at this as a redemption tour, Like, Steven Spielberg, he's a great filmmaker anyway. You give him the motive of revenge, and he's probably going to knock it out of the stadium. And I think Harrison Ford is on board. I might be in the minority. I think he was still great as Indiana Jones in Crystal Skull. I just think the movie didn't live up to him. So Indy 5 is something that I do still want to see. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, so for Indy 5, I'm cool with it. I'm going to watch it because for me, I really enjoy the character. I enjoy Indiana Jones, even if he's flying with a refrigerator. I will be extremely vocal about me not liking elements of it, which I know a lot of people were very vocal about that. I think with what Steven Spielberg has lined up right now, I mean, he has musical West Side Story. He has he's going to do Grant with Leonardo DiCaprio sometime in the future. He has Black Hawk and all that, and he just did Ready Player One. I think he's gotten possible to get a fourth wind. I think that he has gotten a fourth wind now, and that's why I have hope for Indiana Jones 5. And then with this rewrite with the Jonathan Carden is Kasdan, thank you. It's the writer from Solo. It's like, yeah, Indiana Jones is Han Solo. Han Solo is Indiana Jones in like different circumstances. I think that's good. Whether this is a second draft or whether this is a polish or maybe something else completely, it gives me hope for this.
All right, so I didn't warn you guys I was going to do this, but let's do some stunt casting right now here. I'm going to give each one of you guys can nominate one person and one person only. This can't be like, oh, well, this person would be good, but then person X and person Y and person Z. You get one choice, Indiana Jones, recasting it, rebooting Indiana Jones, giving somebody else the iconic whip and fedora and jacket and all that good stuff. Who are you casting as the young stud Indiana Jones?
I think Chris Pratt would do a really good job at it.
All right.
I mean, Chris Pratt has the energy, he has the action, he has that sarcasm and that sardonic wit already down, and we've kind of already seen that in space. I think that would be a really good translation over to Indiana Jones property.
You gave a great answer, but it was so fun to focus on Coy thinking in his head, like, I think I could be Indiana Jones. Like, I think I could do it. You certainly have the energy to be Indiana Jones.
My calling.
I see you as a globetrotter getting a lot of precious artifacts.
Yeah, that's why I'm in Vegas, man.
Okay, I make it even harder now.
Okay.
You can't take Chris Pratt.
I would actually say Chris Pratt wouldn't be a good Indiana Jones. This isn't a movie fight, so I won't argue it, and there was clapping. And I don't
This
wanna
is
betray
not
you.
the question, Coy.
I will say...
Stop delaying your
okay,
answer.
I've got what I think is a good one, and I will explain why before I give the name. This is a man who has charming wit. He plays both comedy and drama well. He can be stoic. He can be a man of few words. He enjoys carrots. No, he is a man
You said
who...
man a few words and I was out.
I think that Ryan Gosling is a really underappreciated, like, comedic and dramatic actor. He had that heyday where he was in, like, The Other Guys and every other movie for a while. But if you look at everything from Lars and the Real Girl to Crazy Stupid Love, he's got franchise written all over him, and he's a guy that can sell tickets, but he can also be really, really, like, I love The Notebook all day, but I also love, like, his more dramatic and comedic terms. So I think Ryan Gosling not only needs a franchise, but I think he'd be a lot better Indy than having Andy Dwyer in a hat. Because I don't like Jurassic World doesn't work for me because whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, they put a vest on Andy Dwyer and he lost some pounds. Why is he edgy? So like, but I think Ryan Gosling is like built for franchises, and he has more range than almost anyone working. And I want Indy to be a new thing. I don't want it to be someone doing a Harrison Ford impression.
All right, Chris Pratt, Ryan Gosling, at least neither one of them said Jared Leto. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a huge round of applause for Markeia and Coy joining us. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Coy for Indy 2018.
No, thank you for wearing that suit.
Hey. Okay, so if you guys see the color of the suit, can anybody think of a movie character? Markeia compared me to a movie character that wore a similar suit. Anybody have a movie character you think this suit looks like? From what? Okay, Punch Drunk Love, Adam Sandler. Markeia brought up Russell Crowe from Virtuosity. Deep, deep cut. Very well done. So before I bring up our next panelists, let's go back to the crowd for the Indiana Jones question. You can recast Indiana Jones. You can either have Chris Pratt or you can have Ryan Gosling. So you can only clap for one. Let's go with Chris Pratt first. How many people want to see Chris Pratt as the new Indiana Jones? Okay. There's an opening for Gosling here. How many people would rather see Ryan Gosling as Indiana Jones? Gosling, in the slightest of margins, takes it. And with that, I'm going to welcome our final two panelists of the night. We'll talk some movie news, and then we're going to take your live questions. Please join me in welcoming the host of Collider Heroes and the host of Collider Mailbag, John Schnepp and Perri Nemiroff. Let's get sweaty one more time on the Las Vegas stage.
Let's do it.
Schnepp, Perri, what do you guys think about that Indiana Jones take? Would you get Gosling? Would you get Chris Pratt? Or would you just not make any more Indiana Jones movies?
I would stop in 2008 and burn the print. There's only 3 Indiana Jones movies. Sorry, I don't acknowledge that skull thing.
Perri?
I second that statement. No more. No more. Because even if you get someone great like Chris Pratt, you wind up in that same scenario where you can't detach the iconic character that was created by one of the best actors out there and then you're supposed to have that all fade away and accept someone new in the no.
I'm
no.
cool. I'm not against them revisiting or remaking Indiana Jones, but I would like another 10 years. Like, if they're going to get Bradley Cooper or something, or get someone younger, like a 25 or 30-year-old person to redo a whole new trilogy.
Get Broom Kid. I mean, in 10 years, Broom Kid's going to be of age, and I don't know if he's going to factor
That's
in
right.
Star Wars, so you can just have him be in Indiana
He's
Jones.
just drinking those midi-chlorians. You know?
Well, I don't know when we're going to get more Indiana Jones movies, but a man whose name has come up a lot recently with a lot of different content, and I know it gets Perri out of bed in the morning, probably John Schnepp a little bit too. The man's name is Stephen King. And Stephen King has so many projects in the works now, and we've seen this before. Stephen King wrote a lot of great horror novels, and they got made into a lot of really bad movies. And then, for whatever reason, he had enough good movies from here to there, and then we got It. And It came out last September, crushed the box office, so all of a sudden everybody forgot about The Dark Tower and just wanted to focus on the name Stephen King and what else can we bring to life on celluloid, on a streaming service, whatever it is. So Perri, of all of these Stephen King projects that have been announced, which one are you most looking forward to?
I knew you were going to ask me that exact question from the second you uttered Stephen King's name, and I've had all this time to try to think of an answer, and I don't know if I could pick one, because we have the first part of It that is already a proven success, and there's certain scenes in the adult portion of that book that I am so excited to see Andy Muschietti bring to screen. But then I just finished reading Pet Sematary. I love the people that are working on that one. And then also, I just finished reading Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining, and with all the casting news about that one, I think it's those three right now of everything else that's in development, but there's a lot of really promising stuff.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor playing the adult version of the kid in The Shining, which, like...
Mark, what's going on?
Like, can you imagine being a therapist and having that walk into your office? So tell me about your childhood. Well, there's a lot of elevators and blood involved.
Talking to my finger every day.
I just do this. Are you going Dr. Sleep? You going Pet Sematary?
You know, what is that TV series? It's like Castle Rock.
Castle Rock comes out in July.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually looking most forward to, because that's kind of an amalgam of a lot of his short stories and books. And I don't know how far they can they use Pennywise? I don't really know. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to It 2, or whatever the hell they're going to call it. Chapter 2, right? Tommyknockers, not really on my list. But, you know, I mean, I'm going to watch all of them because I love Stephen King. I grew up reading The Stand. That's like my first 1,000-pager or something. I was like, it just never ends. But it was so good.
That is
and
a thick piece of work.
Yeah, Pet Sematary is an amazing horror novel. It scared the living Christ out of me. So I was like, literally, I'm probably looking forward to Pet Sematary most in the theater, and then Castle Rock on the small screen.
All right, let's localize it to the horror content that we've seen this year, because I know you guys are both big into horror movies. Do you see a lot of promise for the future of the horror genre with the things that we've gotten this year, like Hereditary, A Quiet Place? Blumhouse, you know, is always going to be around. Even though they make movies that aren't always the best, like Truth or Dare, it's going to get people into the theater opening weekend. So do you like where your beloved genre is going into the rest of this year and beyond?
Absolutely, and not just this year, it's been recent years too, where it does feel like many out there are accepting and acknowledging quality horror, and the fact that you don't need to just make something that falls into that silly cash grab category in order to get butts and seats. People will come out if the movie's good. A Quiet Place is proof of that. You have Get Out, you have Split. Hereditary, even though it didn't hit that many theaters, it still made a good amount of money. So there's no doubt that people out there are accepting the fact that word of mouth can help. And you know what? If you actually make a good movie, people will come and see it. So I'm hopeful that that will have a ripple effect that will continue.
Yeah, and Schnepp, we just got the poster for M. Night Shyamalan's follow-up to Split, uniting these universes with Glass. How cool? Do y'all see the poster yet? We're going to get the trailer for it at Comic-Con. I cannot wait to go to San Diego in 3 weeks now.
Yeah, you know, for me, Split, I thought the best part of it was the very end with Bruce Willis. I liked Split. I just wasn't, over the moon about it. And then it's like, wait, that's the dude from Come On, Shamalama Lama. You know, I was like, but all of us, I've been waiting for that because he's been talking about it for years, so that was cool. I mean, Lights Out, Don't Breathe. I mean, we've had so many amazing horror movies, like you mentioned, Get Out. I mean, I think Hereditary was fantastic. We're on a streak, on a run. I don't know what's The Nun is going to be about. Really, it looks
It's
like
about
Marilyn Manson.
it's about a nun,
Yeah?
and the cool thing about that is that the nun. So she's got like the Catholic scary mythology going there, which plays well into horror, and then she's also a freaking nun, and they can be really scary. I went to Catholic school. Nuns can do stuff that normal teachers cannot get away with because God authorized them to throw a ruler at you.
Yeah, but
So-
nuns are also sexy, Mark. I'm sorry, I gotta say. Yeah, how many people here think nuns can be sexy? Raise your hand. Half the audience, easily.
If you're referring to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the Castle Anthrax, I will co-sign that. Classic 1975. The Nun is something I'm really looking forward to, but it might fall into that category of doing well opening weekend, whereas something like Halloween coming out around Halloween, that's going to get a lot of box office traction, and I think there's a big appetite for that movie.
Halloween should be in pretty good shape, especially after that trailer, because that is what happens. When you wow people with the first trailer, that's where you start your buzz, and now you have to keep it up. And it's just such an interesting choice to have Danny McBride and David Gordon Green, of all people, which it's the last duo that I would ever expect to come on board for a Halloween movie. But you know what? Maybe that's what we need. A fresh set of eyes, a different sensibility.
Call Me By Your Name director doing the remake of Suspiria,
Yeah.
and that comes out November 2nd. If you haven't seen that trailer yet, go online and watch that trailer. I don't even care if you didn't like the original Suspiria. I'm not going to argue with you. Just watch the trailer. It's really enticing. It has that 70s vibe, but it doesn't feel like Argento. So.
And horror movies are unlike any other kind of genre where you get into a theater and it's just we're having that collective experience. It's great to see a funny comedy in a movie theater because everybody's laughing together, but to get scared, see something really scary, and then you take a breath, and then everybody starts laughing at how scared we all got. There's nothing like it in a movie theater. We got about 20 minutes left, so if you guys are cool with it, I'd like to keep y'all up here, and we can turn it over to some Q&A from the fans. So if anybody has a question for us about movie talk, about movies that are coming up, your favorite movies, please feel free. Form an orderly line at the microphone, and I don't think anybody's going to try to steal it from this young man. What is your question, sir?
First of all, I want to say my favorite two shows are like Collider Movie Talk and Heroes. So thank you for doing all that great show
on.
with Collider. Thank you. My question is that I'm a big action fan, action movies. I think a lot of you guys are sitting on Mile 22, Peter Berg movie. I just saw the Red Band trailer this morning. It looked amazing with Rama from Raid in it. I think that's gonna kick some A. And what are you guys' thoughts on it? I haven't heard you guys talk about it. Maybe one time in movie talk. That's about it.
Yeah, the movie. I mean, anytime you get Rama from the Raid involved in a movie, you're gonna get me excited about the film. Like I was excited when they announced that there were cast members from the Raid. They're gonna be in Force Awakens, and they show up, they give me some crap, and then they go off stage. Perri, what's your thoughts?
I'm completely distracted by Michael Myers, who just appeared and walked away back there.
That's fantastic.
Literally, Michael Myers has been standing
He's very
back
still.
there.
There he is. Look, there's Michael Myers. He's very quiet and still, like a
He
puppet.
heard us talking about Halloween, and he decided to pop in.
He just stands there, dudes. You go ahead and look. He'll be still standing there.
I want a picture
non-moving.
of just that.
I think he
Don't move,
breathes.
Michael.
Don't move, Michael. Don't breathe, Michael.
But I haven't seen the latest trailer for this one. No? Yeah? The Red Band one that just dropped this morning?
Yeah, that
I'm
one's
going to casually keep talking.
That one looks really good.
Perry's doing a great job of working the phone and the microphone at the same time. Schnepp, you locked into this after seeing the trailer?
100%.
Thank you for your question. And we also, everybody that lines up that asks a question, you can go see our own Santa Claus. Frosty is going to be giving out some toys, so go grab your toy courtesy of McFarlane Toys. Thank you so much to McFarlane Toys for helping us do all of our panels at Collider here at Amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con this weekend. Hey, bud, what's your question?
Hey, I'm back again. With the recent thing with Stephen King and that, do you see them doing maybe some Dean Koontz, maybe doing a re-stab at Watchers or Hysteria or something like that in comparison?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great horror authors out there. None have the name power of Stephen King.
Right.
So, like, now Stephen King, you could put his name on a poster, and that's going to get people excited. A lot of people know of Dean Koontz and writers like that, but I think that as long as the content is there, it's a horror movie. I think it adds some weight to it, but nothing to the level of just Stephen King is a brand at this point.
Especially after the success of something like It, just because that's not just a movie that did well, that's a movie that crushed expectations beyond belief. And really that kind of, it's not that we weren't adapting Stephen King properties before, but look at how many Stephen King things were announced since that movie came out, with Warner Brothers in particular going all in on it. So I think the name recognition is kind of what tops it with him versus other horror authors.
Yeah, there are things called bookstores. There's a few left, but if you actually wander in there, you'll see Dean Koontz is like half of a block.
Yeah.
I think the guy's written so many books. I'm like, I don't know where to start. Literally, I don't. But why not?
What are these
Watchers?
stores called?
Bookstores, Mark Ellis. Mark Ellis, ladies and gentlemen, does not believe in books, but it's okay. We're
Doesn't
still
sound like
friends.
my cup of tea. I read for 10 minutes every day, and it's visiting the rest area. Thank you for your question, and go grab your McFarlane brand toy. Our next questioner is...
Yeah, so, the trend with movies is right now with a 30-year plus, 30-ish years, you're getting a reboot or you're getting a sequel to it. Which one do you guys prefer? A sequel to, stretch out the history, conclude the history, or a straight-up reboot? And, what's something that's around 30 years that you'd love to see redone or sequelized?
Man, that's a really good question, and I don't just want to take the easy way out and say it's based on the particular source material you're talking about, but a lot of it is predicated upon that, like whether you reboot something or whether you just make a sequel. Recently, I think that there's been some sequels to properties we haven't heard from in a while. You look at Blade Runner, you look at The Incredibles, and these were really good sequels, and it was cool to see them back in the limelight again. So I think that where I'm at right now, I would rather see a sequel to something with the character coming back. Harrison Ford can still be Han Solo. Craig T. Nelson can still voice Mr. Incredible. Harrison Ford can still be in Blade Runner. I mean, maybe it's just Harrison Ford movies. I want to see sequels too. But I think I prefer a sequel at this point in time to a straight reboot. Schnepp, how do you feel?
Well, you mentioned Craig T. Nelson. I wouldn't mind him and Joe Beth Williams hanging out for Poltergeist 11 or whatever the fuck. But
I thought you were going to say remake a Coach.
no, no Coach.
Love
No sports. You know what? I'd say I got 3 right off the top that I'd like to see reboots. Not just like Logan's Run, Zardoz, and Battle Beyond the Stars. It's a mic drop, son.
Those are reboots you want to see?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
My mind immediately went to Cobra Kai and how great that is, and how I never would have guessed that they would have been able to continue that same story so effectively. So that makes my mind go immediately to all the sports movies that I grew up with as a kid, which is no surprise, Sandlot, Mighty Ducks. To be able to revisit where those characters might be as adults, that seems really appealing, in the vein of something like a Cobra Kai, where maybe they're older and they're teaching a new group of kids how to fall in love with a sport and find themselves through playing sports.
Howard the Duck.
Or that.
How do y'all feel about reboots that include the original cast in a different way? Like Ghostbusters obviously made the attempt, and they never really settled on the line they were going with. Like, they're talking about remaking White Men Can't Jump, which is fine with me. I love White Men Can't Jump. But if you remake it, okay, I want Wesley and Woody to come back and be like the old kings of the court.
Yeah. Still
was
playing.
weird.
Yeah.
That is like a post-credit scene, them playing.
They're
I
the
dig
new
that.
King and Duck.
Why not?
It was weird how Ghostbusters did it. It was distracting. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to have them come back, why don't you just incorporate their characters into the story?
Hey,
If
I'm a
there's an
cabbie. I'm a
If there's an
cabbie.
organic way to do it that makes sense, fine. If you're just shoehorning them in so you can have people go, oh, there they are, then what's the point?
All right, well, crapping on Ghostbusters is so 2016. So let's move on to our next question. What do we got?
All right, this is a Star Wars question again. What do you guys think of having a Palpatine origin story standalone?
You want to see a Palpatine origin story feature film?
Yes.
I think that you could make a great movie that is a Palpatine origin story, but if there's anything I've learned from Star Wars recently, it's that I think a lot of fans are looking at the existing lore we have and are saying, you might be massaging that a little too much, you know? Why don't you go somewhere else to a different part of the universe that you've never heard of before? I think they're towing my car. And I think that I'd rather see a totally different time and space period than a Senator Palpatine movie. But his rise to political power is certainly something that is intriguing. How do you guys feel?
After Solo, I more so than ever am just rooting for new creative opportunities, especially when we have the unknown regions and wild space. There's just so much more to explore than what we've seen before. And, you know, I imagine there might be an interesting origin story in there. I have Darth Plagueis on my audiobook queue right now, so I'm going to get into that eventually, and that might change my opinion for all I know if he's worked into that well. But I want new stuff. I want new, fresh stuff.
Understandable.
I would love to see a Palpy movie. I mean, hopefully when they do the streaming service, they open it up a little bit and it doesn't have to be a 90-minute movie. It could be like Star Wars, Origins, or just some slappy thing that's an hour long and you're like, here's Palpatine, and it's just like him at his desk writing in his book or something. Everyone's asleep.
Dear Diary,
Yeah,
the kids called
yeah.
me Sheev in a mocking way again.
I fed her midi-chlorians again. No one knows that I'm really the pappy or whatever. I want the Salacious Crumb trilogy. You know what I'm talking about. So I think Palpatine, there's so many worlds of Star Wars. I know a lot of people were like upset about Solo or whatever. I say relax, man. It was a fun movie. It didn't have that kind of level that the Star Wars trilogies have, but neither are any of his other movies going to. Boba Fett, a weird bounty hunter western. Come on. I'm cool with any of those things. I want to see more of them, but I guess that's not happening. Didn't they cancel Star Wars?
Yeah, Star Wars is done now.
Yeah, they canceled it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, Star Wars, thanks for showing up. You can go home. I would cast Tom Hiddleston as a young Palpatine, though. If I had to make the movie, you gave me the keys to the kingdom, I'm making Loki Palpatine.
Mark Ellis, you're hired.
Fair enough.
My mic is up.
Thank you for your question. You can go grab a McFarlane toy. Yeah, now I get to talk. All right. That is a fantastic. How about a round of applause for that? I mean, this is a work of art right here.
Thanks, Mark.
Good to see you, my man. What is your question for us today?
There was some talk earlier about people coming into Las Vegas and going a little crazy while they're here. So with that in mind, if you had to leave this weekend and get a movie-related tattoo, what would you get? And Perri, I know that you have one. So if you had to get another one, what would you get?
Okay, so Perri, you have a, Jurassic Park?
I have the Jurassic Park tattoo.
She has a Jurassic Park tattoo. I actually have a movie-related tattoo. It's the Wake Forest Demon Deacon. They made a movie about Wake Forest called The Fifth Quarter. It's not great. You can catch on the Hallmark Channel. If you had to get one movie-related tattoo, which way are you going? Schnepp, do you have any tattoos? Yeah. Okay, Steven Weintraub would like Gotti. So
It's the real seal from Milk, from the Dairy Association. Got it when I was in college. I would get the Zardoz head right here.
That's pretty cool. Okay, Perri, you get another movie-related tattoo.
I've thought about this, and it's probably going to happen eventually. I really want the minimalist X-Wing on me somewhere. Like, just super small. Sure. Yeah, that's the one that I've been thinking about. That might happen in the near future.
All right, well, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so it'd probably be something Star Wars, but I don't want to be like the Rebel symbol or the Imperial symbol, so I'd go full bore, and I would get Darth Maul's facial stuff. I'd be the whole thing. I'd have horns, be all red and black up here, and Movie Talk would be a different kind of show. Thank you for the question. I appreciate it. What's up, man? You're up next.
Hello. My question would be, how do you guys feel about Hasbro taking over the Power Ranger and revamping the movie?
All right, so Hasbro is now going to be in business with the Power Rangers. The Power Rangers could be involved in Transformers and G.I. Joe and Rom the Space Guy and Mask and so many other properties. How excited is the biggest Power Rangers fan on this panel?
Pump the brakes on all of that. I want a sequel to the movie we just got. If I had my pick, I would keep that same exact cast, and I would get the Green Ranger, the Tommy that they teased.
I agree.
That's what I want, but when you think about what they just did with the sale, I feel like it is inevitable that at some point in the near future, if and when we do get another Power Rangers movie, that it's going to collide with Transformers and everything else he just rattled off. But I'm fine with that as long as you give me one more solid Power Rangers solo movie.
Okay, Schnepp, how do you see the Power Rangers factoring into the joint Hasbro universe? Do they deserve another standalone movie, or you just want to see them shoehorned in with a bunch of other heroes?
Well, if I was basing my decision-making powers on that last movie, sorry, Perri, I want to see a reboot. And if they are going to mix it with Rom the Space Knight,
yeah, he's a space guy.
Space guy. Mask and all that stuff. Why not? I mean, I think I hear what you're saying. You dug that. It wasn't horrible. I didn't think it was horrible, but it just didn't get me Megazord. I was like, there it is, a gold thing or whatever. I just was like, sorry, that's me. I wasn't raised. I'm way older. So.
I feel like I'm at a disadvantage because there's one mic right now. Can't really defend Goldar, but I mean, isn't it nice and refreshing to get a movie like that that actually builds the characters and it makes them earn their suits and their Zords before they go into action? Yeah. And especially as a fan of Mighty Morphin, when you get that side shot of all the Zords running and the music kicks in at just the right time, all the chills.
You were geeking out.
I was geeking out.
I think if we keep down this road, if Schnepp keeps saying he doesn't want it and Perri has to keep defending it, Perri is getting a tattoo of Power Rangers here tonight. Live on stage. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, we got time for a couple more quick questions.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
Just a quick question. You know, Marvel's finishing up with their Infinity Wars, and they're probably going to be losing steam in the movies. Do you think that it would be effective for them to start going to like other things, like the what if stories, like the Marvel Zombies, and what if Wolverine killed Hulk and stuff like that?
Schnepp and I have had this conversation before, and it was right at the advent of when you saw Thor and Hulk, and we heard they were going to be in a movie together, and we're like, that's really cool, but what if like Deadpool and Logan teamed up for just one standalone movie? And I remember those What If comics, collecting them when I was a kid, and being like, this is so cool that you can have an issue of something. Like, you can have Doctor Strange, and he can hang out with, I don't know, Rocket Raccoon, and they can just go off on an adventure. But to warrant the budget necessary for a feature film, is that within the realm of possibility, John Schnepp?
I like that question. I would rather they do a streaming service, Disney something just called What If, and then they could have little set, like sort of those Marvel one-shots, but just expanded, busted out like 5 million per episode. So it's not too crazy, but then you could have like the, what if Red Sonja and Conan showed up in New York, or Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four, and it doesn't have to be the MCU actors. You could just keep it on a TV level. I would dig that.
I like different spins on things that we've seen before, so I would root for something like this to happen, but given how protective they are over the Marvel brand and the MCU, it just seems so unlikely to me that they would ever run the risk of confusing anybody by introducing any kind of, alternate timeline or different take on what we know before from the MCU.
Yeah, I think the MCU and Kevin Feige is going to take a close look at what happens with the standalone Joker movie from Todd Phillips with Joaquin Phoenix, see how fans respond to that. Because maybe, like what Schnepp and Perri are saying, maybe down the road one day, we could have a streaming service show that's just What If. And it's like Pepper Potts catches Tony Stark cheating on her with She-Hulk. I would love to see that happen. Thank you for your question. We have time for one more question. You can come on up and meet Frosty.
All right, so last question. By the way, I love your show, love Collider. I want to ask you guys if you can cast like the next Man of Steel movie, and who would the villain be, and who would you cast?
If I'm casting the next what movie?
The next Man of Steel.
Next Man of Steel movie, who is the villain going to be? I guess we're assuming that Jesse Eisenberg is still going to be around as Lex Luthor.
Maybe, if you want to recast him.
Schnepp, there's so many good Superman villains you could have. We can't really take Zod. He's kind of been used. So
Nuclear Man. Just kidding.
Who else do you have?
Obviously Brainiac is the go-to. So I would, even though they're exploring him in Krypton, which I highly recommend you all see, it's a good series. I would like to see that modern version of Brainiac with Lex Luthor. Maybe add a little of that flavor that Alan Moore did for their eventual team up, but don't get too weird. You got Mxyzptlk, I can't ever say the dude's name. You got Parasite. Once you get too magical, I think that kind of that's a road I don't want to go down too far. I want to keep the tech that the Man of Steel brought in. So it's not magic, it's technology, it's science fiction. So I would go with Brainiac.
I don't have the knowledge that he does to shell out a name like that, but why don't we have this movie already? It just seems crazy to me that it's taking them as long as it is, because especially with just the state of that whole film franchise right now, that seems like a good way to take a step back, but also get your footing. Not that I'm not excited for a bunch of the other things they have coming out, but that one seemed like a safe bet for the position that they're in.
I know, we at least need an announcement for that one.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that it goes back to what Schnepp mentioned yesterday on his heroes panel, is that if you look at Superman, he could be the connective tissue in some of these other movies where he shows up, and then that teases us into a Man of Steel 2, and then we're back to where I said we could be, where the DCU overtakes the MCU within 5 years, maybe 10, give or take. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the
Thank you,
question,
guys.
by the way. Sometimes heroes have to do tough jobs, and I have the toughest job of all right now, and that is saying goodbye. For the panel here today, can you guys join me in giving a huge round of applause to Perri Nemiroff and John Schnepp? It's been great being with you guys this weekend.